Everybody's on, right?
Just got no. Oh, your visuals. You're on now. Yeah.
Okay, so we have. I'll go just to make sure I got a quorum. Commissioner Lopez.
Here.
Leone.
Here.
Barak.
Here.
Bolton.
Here.
Villani.
Here.
Okay, so we're ready to go. We've got a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and take off. This is Thursday, August the 13th, 2020. It is 5:33 p.m. This is the work session for the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Item number 1 on the agenda this evening is the facade program, and I brought that up for discussion because it was prompted at
This conference will now be recorded. This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. At the end of last meeting, Commissioner Leone did bring up a question whether or not our status of the facade program, and after thinking about that, I thought of bringing it back on tonight because I think we need to give some thought to revision of that program. I think we need to be able to allow it to allow for cosmetics. This was put together, in the past. We've gone about it several times and done different things with it. But I think at this particular time, I think it maybe is a good time in history to be able to think about providing assistance out to the property owners in the business districts to be able to do some cleanup, paint up, doing different things like maybe even increasing the amounts that we allow, the application process maybe being a little more liberal and allow some money in advance for acquisition of materials and or to assist in paying for labor or anybody or anything else that takes place with it. So while we're not really in a position to do that tonight, but I wanted to throw that on the table to see how everybody else feels about it. We are building funds in our account. We are collecting TIF on a pretty steady basis, and the amounts that we're collecting are very well. So I'm thinking that we need to consider a revision of the current facade program and or actually add another component to it. What are everybody's thoughts? Do me a...
This is Francesca.
Yes, please identify yourselves.
This is Chairman Villani speaking.
Yes.
Okay, are you saying, I'm looking at the thought program right now, are you saying then that we might combine what the Main Street group as far as what they're doing with and add it to ours?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say add their part to ours. I mean, we could dovetail, we could collaborate on it. But I'm thinking that there is a need out there, and it's something to give thought to. I can't say for sure. It depends on how the urban renewal commissioners feel they want to do it. I mean, I'm open to any kind of approach you all want to do, but I think it's something to give consideration to.
Well, I agree that we should revive this. This is Commissioner Villani speaking again. I agree that we should revive it.
Okay. How does everybody else?
Yes. I agree too. I think it should be revised to help people more, for us to get it out there.
Yes, I mean, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, this is Wally. Would it be all right if I made a comment on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Wally Wallace.
Okay. I just wanted to make the comments that in addition to possibly offering cosmetic and making it a little easier, I would like you all to consider expanding the boundaries to historic structures that are out of the Corazon de Trinidad Historic District. Specifically, I know last year the Builder Supply came to you applying for the program and was uneligible because of their location. I know somebody else who is looking to restore one of our historic assets, and it's right at a highway exit, so I think there's high visibility, would be very noticeable, even though it's outside of the historic district. In addition to that, I also know somebody who is very interested in the old train depot on Elm Street. And that's another historic building that falls right outside of the historic district. And so I just thought I'd like you all to consider that if there are these buildings that we do think are valuable for our community, that we would like to see restored and taken care of, that you all might consider expanding that boundary to where the buildings still need to be at least 50 years old, but don't necessarily need to fall in that exact radius, as long as we see their improvement as being a benefit to our community. So that's the comment I wanted to add, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, but there you go.
Chairman Grego, if I may address this?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace, thank you for your input on that. I believe this board looked at that, expanding the boundaries of the historic district about a year and a half ago, I think, before you were here with the city. And I think it was around the same time where we lost our executive director as well. I'm not too sure if we came to a vote on that, Chairman, or not at that time. I think it was kind of up in the air, and then with COVID hitting, we were put in a little turmoil on how we're going to move forward. But I think that you got a valid point, Mr. Wallace, to that. But if I can ask the chairman to give us the direction, I believe at that time when it was discussed, there was something in place already regarding the historic district. Chairman, could you clarify that?
Let me tell you what it is. We originally adopted the first version of that was, I believe went on in 2018. And we made a revision to it, and I have it here somewhere in all these paperwork, but I think in December of 2019, we made the last revision to it, which sort of broadened it up a little bit, but I just don't think it's broad enough. We actually adopted it on December the 12th, 2019. And so where the language was changed in it to take it a little bit, to make it a little more broad, we haven't done anything with it then. We did it because we hadn't seen any kind of a response. Earlier in the year, we did put out what I thought to be a really nice advertisement in the newspaper, and gotten a response to that as well. And so it's something that, I don't believe, we didn't get a response, so therefore we can't gauge how restrictive the program is right now. But in looking at it myself, I think it's a little restrictive. And there are other towns in Colorado, and I believe Lahana is one of them. Their Urban Renewal Authority, they do have a program that allows for cosmetics. And the way it was put together, for us by our previous executive director, it was somewhat of a new thing that he created and wanted to make it basically structural stabilization to the facade, keep it within that district. And so to some degree it's trial and error. But we've been through that process now. We saw where the program is not going anywhere as far as it is, as the way it's currently written. I'm thinking that maybe if we add another component to it, which would allow for cosmetics and some other things, possibly at this point even looking at the broadening of the boundaries, as Mr. Wallace has suggested, and put some other things in there that maybe advancing some funds rather than making sure that it's totally on a reimbursement. Obviously, there'll have to be guidelines to it, but we have to make sure that it's available to more people and easier to access. So, are we under the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If I may, Chairman, also add that my concern as a commissioner of TURA is I believe that the Urban Renewal Authority encompasses the entire city limits of Trinidad, and this program does not. So, to Mr. Wallace, you have a valid point moving forward. I think having an issue with not having an executive director stalled a lot of these programs moving forward. And to Mr. Chairman Grego's discussion regarding, we have reached out, we have put ads in the paper, we have not had much response at all. So I think maybe this might be something for consideration for this board to move forward in expanding the the arena and the entire city limits, or to the facade program regarding the buildings, and staying within the framework of the facade program that's been put in place. So that's just my opinion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay.
Commissioner Bolton.
Yes.
First of all, suggestion of dovetailing and collaborating with Main Street. Does anyone know whether they have ever received any funding for that project?
What I remember last time I had conversation with them, because I did attend one of their meetings, and my understanding, and I may be wrong, but what I understood was they didn't have funds for that.
That's what I understood, and I don't know that they have acquired them. So I don't know if that is something that we can consider. I went through the new program, or the most recent program today, and things that stood out to me. First of all, the cost of architectural stamped drawings are extremely expensive, which could be a deterrent, especially if we're just doing cosmetic. Perhaps we want to up the ante a little bit to make it more profitable for the building owner. And also, in this day and age, our economy is bad, and it may be difficult for folks to come up with a complete funding up front, and maybe we should reconsider, rather than paying at the end of the project, helping at the inception, with a condition of a signed contract that all liens are paid and that all funds went to contractors, and if that's not accomplished, we place a lien on the building.
Or ask for reimbursement.
I'm sorry?
Or ask for reimbursement. If funds are not used as requested, they're not used for the purpose requested, if it violates, if it's contradictory to what the application is, we could either place a lien or just ask for reimbursement.
Yeah, I mean, I know two big people in particular who really need the cosmetics, but can't acquire all of the funds necessary up front.
Okay. So I think there's a consensus that I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Commissioner Maloney. I agree with Carol on most of those points. I think that we can look at not only helping out at the very beginning, but we can also look at draws as far as a regular construction situation in which certain phases of whatever they're doing, after certain phases, they get a draw of money to cover those things. I think there's a protection there for us. The other thing that I think is important as we move forward to make any changes here is that we set up a criteria for what, if we're going to extend the boundaries, and we are very careful about setting up a criteria for consideration, for how a applicant would qualify for funds. Otherwise, I think we'll be I think it may create a situation for TURA if we don't.
Well, we want to. Yeah, I agree, and I did, like I say, we'd like to expand this a little bit, based on the amount of response we've received so far for applications. Honestly, I don't know what's a detriment in here, because if it's the architectural or anything else, because I don't know that how many people or individuals, property owners, have really come looking for it. So it's hard to gauge it. But as I look at it, it's been in place here for a couple of years technically, and it doesn't, it's not really gotten off the ground, and I would like to see it. I think it behooves us, and it's good for the community. So if we can make those either revisions to the current one, or have a another modification to it in the way of another policy strictly for cosmetic, go there. With that being said, and maybe I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, we need to put it together, and I need some people to assist with it. And I would like some of this work as we go. There's a couple more things we have to discuss tonight, but I'd like to be able to see if we can have, without doing any violating of any too many people being together, if we can get some committees of two to be able to exchange ideas to have that happen. And not necessarily, including the chairman in those committees of two. I go as a gang of one.
I would like to participate in that.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Alonso.
Okay. So Commissioner Villani, would anybody else like to assist in the review of that and put something together?
Yes, I would.
Okay. So we will leave it in your capable hands to begin, and obviously anything you need from me or whatever, please feel free to call as we go forward, because I think this is something that, again, we've reached a point in time, and not because it was created by us or anybody else, but I mean, these are current hard times, and I'm sure there are business and property owners that would like to do things to their properties, but current economic conditions could be restrictive.
Chairman, if I may add a recommendation to that group of two, or in their discussion, that they include maybe possibly a city employee such as Mr. Wallace or Mr. Valentine, to get input from them regarding what they're hearing out on the front line with business owners outside of the historic district as well, just to get input or have that conversation with them before they have their meet regarding the policy that we have in place, just to get some insight from the feedback that's coming from the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd be happy to provide at least two interested entrepreneurs that are looking at historic buildings that I personally believe are important historical assets for this community, and invite them to explain what they would like to do if they were to be able to get support to do what they'd like to move forward with.
Okay.
Mr. Wallace, that would probably have to be done through the application after this initial expanding the jurisdiction would be approved or not approved. So that might be later on. But in the meanwhile, just giving your insight of persons of interest, not even so much involving them, but just your knowledge of those others interested, just to give input to the board at that time.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that.
And we wouldn't be violating anything if just two of us met with a city employee to discuss.
No, as long as it's not more than two commissioners from the voting that would vote on the board.
Okay.
I'm correct on that, right, Mike?
That is correct. It's two only, and then a city employee would be. And I've got to ask, can you hear me? Because I've been having technical issues.
Yeah, right now we can, yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So yes, we will offer city assistance to that group, any input that we can.
Yeah, I have one. This is Commissioner Bolton again. I do have a question. If we expand the boundaries, how do we deal with the one person who we excluded because of the boundaries?
You mean when the application was denied?
Yes.
That wouldn't preclude them from coming back, I wouldn't believe.
However, doesn't it say that the project cannot be started before they apply?
Yes, it does say that. So that is one thing we'd want to address. Though personally, I would love to offer them support as well if there's some way to revise that in a way that would open up the support to those individuals, or that individual.
And I know that was under a previous policy, but still, it kind of seems unfair.
Well, yeah, and I think we want to add fairness to that by changing the guidelines somewhat, or maybe even a lot, and you shouldn't preclude anybody from coming back and reapplying, and that means maybe we need to consider that in the guidelines that would allow somebody, halfway across the river to be able to ask for assistance.
Okay.
And Chairman, at the time the application was put in, this policy was in place. Just to remind the board that we could not go around or above the policy that the previous TURA boards have put in place. So we'd have to address that moving forward. And I agree, they can reapply.
Because they are, we all know we're talking about Builder Supply, and they are doing some wonderful things to that block.
Right. Okay then, Commissioner Villani and Commissioner Bolton will head the committee, or are the committee, I should say, the committee of two that will throw those ideas together, and will confer with either city manager or economic development director Wally Wallace to get ideas, input, or advice.
Commissioner Leone, if we had any suggestions for them, are we open to giving them some?
You most certainly are. You can only do that on a one-on-one or in writing, but yeah, you can do that. You can't do it all three at one time. That would be probably. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's yes. I mean, we all can do that. Every one of us can, pen our suggestions and comments and get it to the committee, so that I think it would be helpful to them.
It would be very helpful, and I, for one, would greatly appreciate it.
Me too.
Okay. Let's move on to item number 2, the request for proposals. And here I have to apologize a little bit, because I think I got a little overzealous in what I thought what I want to do, or we could do, but I don't think it's possible. But the request for proposal and the original document, and we were assisted by City Manager Mike Valentine. He gave us a model to work with, which was provided to everybody. I sent that out August the 5th with some revisions to it, and I put in some dates that I thought would be something for reference. Obviously, they're not realistic at this particular time, and I will tell you my reasoning for that not being realistic. When you read it in the opening or the bottom paragraph of and I'm assuming everybody has that for reference. You have your request for proposal document. In there, it does say that there be, a part of this all would be an exclusive negotiation agreement and a development agreement. Mike also provided us with some models that were derived from a project and something that went on in Boise, Idaho. In there, we may and may not use that as I looked at it. I don't know how much as far as the exclusive negotiation agreement really may not need, but we will need to have a development agreement available. We will have to enter that with whoever it is. It's going to be, that development agreement will be to spell out the obligations of the developer or purchaser of that parcel of land. And that being the case, I think we need to have that in place and available before we send out, ask for, and receive RFPs. Now, I will again, do you all have the copies of the ENA and D and development agreement documents that City Manager Mike Valentine sent to us? It was sent to you all here a few days ago.
I don't recall having received them.
Well, I don't either. So I did not.
Okay.
I'm looking through my emails right now.
Do you remember about when those went out, Brittany?
I'm having computer issues too, so I can't.
Okay.
Those were sent out on 8/6 through Brittany Forest, titled TURA RFP with 5 attachments. Attachment to use docs, release waiver, RFP TURA survey title work. Is that the one you're referring to?
No, there's another one after that. Let's see.
Well, that's the only one I have, is that one that Commissioner, Wilkins referred to.
And of course, we all received the document concerning La Puerta.
Yes.
I don't see where I received the others.
I know, I'm just looking through this, I don't have it either. Commissioner Galani.
All right. Well, hopefully that wasn't my oversight, but it could be.
Is that cost sharing agreement? Cost sharing and cooperation agreement? I just found it. Is that what you're referring to?
No, there would have been another one, and I thought it went out, and maybe it didn't. It might be one of those that slipped through the cracks, but it will get to you. But in any case, there are some other things that we have to work with. And again, when you look at the RFP, it does mention in that last paragraph on the first page, it does mention.
Where are you? You're breaking up.
Okay.
I mean, Chairman.
Okay. Okay. On the RFP, that was sent out to first week of August, maybe.
Right, I have it up on the screen.
Okay. Well, if you look on the first page, on the largest paragraph, which is the last one on page 1, it mentions an exclusive negotiation agreement, or ENA, and then a DDA, development agreement, disposition and development agreement. And I apologize. I thought I had sent that. City Manager Mike Valentine had sent it to me, and in trying to get all these things out, sometimes things get overlooked. But in any case, there is a couple of things on there that, and it'll be out to you tomorrow. I apologize that if it didn't get there, I thought it had gone out. But in any case, we have to look at structuring one or both of those, and I'm thinking the disposition and development agreement that actually spells out the obligations of the developer or purchaser of that land. And I'd like to have that prepared and ready to go for when the RFP goes out. Don't want to have to scramble to get it together at the point that we do have an acceptable RFP, and at that particular point, it would be rushing things. I want to get this part in place first. Have I lost everybody?
Yes.
No?
Chairman, I see it, I've had it, and I reviewed it. They did change the dates in there that you're talking about for target dates and timelines to August 20th, 27th. Proposal due by September 24th. Is that the document you're talking about?
It's not. That's just the RFP, and that's the stuff that I put in there for, and it's going to need some more structuring as well. But I put that out there. I mean, we need a starting place, and unfortunately, meeting once a month, plus the fact that we've had a couple of months with no meetings as a result of the coronavirus in April and May, I believe. So we're a little bit behind in time. And so, in order to, my opinion is to be able to send out the RFP and the advertisement, advertise for the RFPs. We need to have that development agreement in place and structured so that we go to the next step after that. I don't want to have to scramble once we have one in place and tell the developer, hang on while we structure one. That needs to be in hand and ready to go when we have a successful purchaser and developer. Mike?
If I may?
Yes. We're still losing you.
those two samples. I sent them via email, if you can hear me.
You send them out then, right, Mike?
I just did.
Oh, okay.
So
Good man.
it's gonna be brand new to them, but, if they can open their sample, ENA, and then there's a list of, what should go into the disposition and development agreements. And based on that last paragraph, depending on how many, prospective, applicants you have or proposals, you can forego possibly the ENA, the exclusive negotiation agreement. Because that kind of sets forth, you're gonna negotiate with one and everything is, basically confidential, and then if nobody moves forward or if it stalls, you can go to the next one. But I apologize if those didn't get sent out, but they just did.
I just received mine.
Yeah. Well, I apologize. I should be the one apologizing because I received them earlier. I've been looking at them, and actually I thought I had sent them out there. So everybody, I do apologize. I'm trying to be the administrator here, which we're going to talk about in a couple of more steps from here. But anyway, so the RFP, I gave it to everybody. I hope you had a chance to look at it. Commissioner Bolton, Vice Chairman Bolton did bring a couple of things to mind on there and mentioned in there, and that will be changed. Is on the last page, I believe, it talks about the open meetings, and we have to sort of change. Yeah, we have to change that to the Colorado Open Records Act instead of the Open Meetings Law, I believe. Is that right, Commissioner Bolton?
No, it was worded just a little bit differently, even though it did deal with the Open Records Act. And my recommendation was, instead of spelling it out in length every time, that refer to the Colorado Public Records Law and in parens, CORA, and refer to it as CORA throughout the rest of this page.
Yeah, we could do that. It lightens up on the typing. So I did make note of that, and we can make that change. And I think it has to be changed from Public Records Law to Colorado Open Records Act, right?
Yes, I'm sorry, you're correct.
Okay. Okay, so I had hoped that we'd be able to make more progress on this tonight, but we can't. But if you look at the information that City Manager Mike Valentine sent to us, if you look at those are outlines. They are not particularly the documents, but they are outlines on how we will structure the documents. So those need to be looked at, and with that, I'm going to ask the question now. In order to put those together, we need to seek assistance for that. I got to tell you that's sort of out of the realm of my experience to be able to put something like that together. And I don't want to burden anybody else with it, but I think and where we're going to find that individual, I don't know. I want to try to connect with Downtown Colorado Incorporated, and see if they know of someone that could assist either on a consultation basis or some other way. But I am going to make that contact to see if that is a possibility. Is that okay with everybody?
Commissioner Bolton, yes.
Commissioner Valani, yes.
Okay. Well, I said I'm just taking a rough sampling because I have to make. There's got to be somebody. Last time I asked them for if there was a possibility that somebody had a sample of an RFP out there. I've got a few responses, but they didn't have anything that was. They were pretty distant from what we would be trying to accomplish. So I didn't even. Never went anywhere with it, but I'm going to see if I can get some information, and obviously it'll be brought back to everybody for approval. But somebody's going to have to engineer that for us because, again, there's an outline there, but it mentions certain laws that are applicable in Idaho and not in Colorado. So again, it's a model, it's a sample, but it's not going to, it doesn't tell us everything we need to do, and unless somebody on the Urban Renewal Authority thinks that they're capable of doing that, I'll leave it in your hands. Anybody want to do that? Okay. Well, I will make that contact.
Chairman, I agree with you. I think this needs to be some of the professional help moving forward. We hate to enter an agreement and be in the wrong with any developer at this point. So, and that's what I want to discuss at the end of the work session regarding a possible work session or agenda item for the executive director. So that's kind of where we're at with not having that at our disposal at this time. But I think we need some professional help on this for moving forward.
Okay.
And once we have, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bolton, once we have these documents in place and know that they are correct, and comply with Colorado law, then we will have something to work from in the future should we have this arise again, which hopefully we do.
Yes, we do.
So let's do it right. Let's do it right the first time.
Okay. Well, that will be my next step. I will get a hold of Cat Cottrell up at DCI and see if they have. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are individuals out there, and something comes to mind. Ayers and Associates sort of comes to my mind, but I don't know if they do that or not. So actually, with what we did, we actually just took care of item number 2 and item number 3 as well, the RFP and the agreements. So does anybody else have anything else they'd like to ask or add to either one of those 2 topics?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my apologies. Again, there were certain things in there I think I overshot, and in my zeal to try to make up for some lost time, I think maybe I overshadowed things that shouldn't have been done. But I will try to get this to the next step and try to communicate a little bit better with everybody. All right, then we're going to go on, since item number 2 and item number 3 have been addressed. Let's go to item number 4. And it was requested that the La Puerta cost share agreement and probably the development agreement both need to be, I guess there's questions on it. And in this case, I got to say this was discussed in early to mid 2019. It was signed in June of 2019. So I'm thinking there are our news commissioners maybe are not privy to all that information, so there may be questions there and refreshers for everybody else that was in. Commissioner Barak, were you on board at that point, or had you already retired?
No, I was not on board at that point.
Okay. So most recently and after the last meeting, when it was requested, City Manager Mike Valentine did send those documents to everyone, and I hope you had an opportunity either to refresh and review or create any questions you might have about it today. A little bit of background on it. The cost share and cooperation agreement and the development agreement are with the La Puerta group, which is all that area that is down east of Commercial Street, just past in the vicinity of the railroad. What would I call it down there? Where everybody would know where the purple toad is now. That particular area is the La Puerta. If you don't already know, I'm sure you do. And this cost share agreement and the development agreement are in particular to the development that is going to happen down in that particular area. There are certain things that the Urban Renewal Authority is obligated to do in there, and one of them is going to be, obviously, we will be allocating them back any of the tax increment that they will generate once the development has gotten to build out. That will be over the course of the TIF time clock, and that at this point is heading toward 20 years, down from 25 to 20 years. There are some other things in there that are required, and that is the backtrack just a little bit. In there, it does spell out that the allocation, the reallocation back to them of the TIF funds as far as the ad valorem taxes, and there will also be through us, although we're not granting it, but it flows through us, is the 2.25% sales tax that the city of Trinidad agreed to give them in the tax increment as well. Am I right, Mike?
That is correct.
2.25%. So that will go through us. And if there, at any point in time in the future, if you read within there, if there is anything that they have other revenue generating sources or have to pay, such as bonds, which at this point and the time that we were told last year, that wasn't anticipated. But if that has to be, there will be, where the flow through is really the administrator of the funds in several areas. So with that, and maybe not a substantial or good enough explanation, ask either I or City Manager Mike Valentine, who has a lot more on it, we can answer some questions. Just as an FYI on the development agreement exists because what's going to take on, what really is happening down there is a development or redevelopment of an area which had been or considered a blighted area. So it falls within the plan adopted by the Urban Renewal Authority in December of 2015, which the whole purpose of an urban renewal in Trinidad is for the elimination of blight. I won't use the other word anymore, but it's for the elimination of blight. So it falls within the plan area, and that's where the involvement of the Urban Renewal Authority is involved. And obviously, we are the only entity or organization by law that can allocate back the tax increment.
Chairman, if I may, the only question or concern I would ask to refresh the board's memory, especially for Mr. Bacharach since he's new, was what the cost share is to all the entities involved.
Well, the cost share is where you see, and I'm trying to remember where it's remunerated in the remunerated. I'm sorry, in the it's in the agreement. There are some numbers in there, and they total out in the 7 figures, and where there's going to be, I believe, $600,000 is mentioned in there as a result, as for the sewer replacement. It's actually more than that, is it not, Mike? It's in one phase, 600,000.
Correct. The overall sewer cost is 1.2 million. The first phase was 600,000. That is in La Puerta. That has been installed, and the commission approved to pay the contractor. Like Chairman Gregor said, it was a pass-through. The city of Trinidad cut the check to Urban Renewal paid the contractor, and then. I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll through the agreement and get the exact numbers, but the overall cost is city's contribution for the sewer is 600,000. The city's contribution for Americana Road is 1.6 million and 900,000 from the developer. That's for the Americana Road. Reimbursement to the city from the TIF is 600,000. Reimbursement to the owner from the TIF is 900,000. The city has a DOLA grant for 1 million for La Puerta for Americana Road, and we also, not shown in here, we later got a grant for 1 million for that sewer trunk line. So. Those are the amounts.
Okay. Keep in mind, can everybody hear me? Keep in mind when you see these reimbursement numbers, when you see the TIF, this is what is anticipated to be generated by the property tax over the TIF clock of the next 20 years. Plus or minus. It now depends on when the project actually gets done, completed, and operational. And then the same thing with the TIF as it refers to the city's 2.25% sales tax. So this is the money that the development itself is going to generate once the development is complete and will be operational. So this isn't all is what would be considered, it's monies after the fact, not monies up front.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Valentine. I just wanted to get a refresher. It's been a while.
Sure. Any other questions?
It has been a while for all of us.
Like 1 year. Any other questions? Any other concerns?
None from me.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to item number 5, which is one that we've rushed on a little bit this evening, and one something we got to bring up because there's certain things that okay. There's consideration on there's certain things that need to be done that we used to have done through and by the city manager, who was our executive director. But with that not being the case for the past several months, pushing on a year, that's pretty much fallen to us from within, and me trying to handle it from my direction, and with the able assistance of getting things together, Brittany Flores every month, we've been able to get the meeting to where it is and try to put all the information where it needs to be. But as time progresses, if we're going to see anything that happens for urban renewal, that we have to try to determine what actions we can take and what projects we can have for redevelopment. I think we need to have somebody at the helm in the way of an executive director, or something comparable. What at this particular time, there's not a lot going on, but still there are things going on that sometimes get ahead of me and probably well beyond what I'm capable of doing. So we need to think about of how we can handle it. It may take only just a few hours a month, but as time goes forward, there may be more tasks, especially like what we just talked about with the administration of those things for the La Puerta development. And that's going to take a little bit of work and time and probably expertise. So I'm throwing that out there for everybody to think about and for suggestion of how we may want to go forward. And possibly not tonight. Tonight may not be the night for that solution, but it is a situation that exists. I don't want to call it a problem, but it's a situation that exists. And as we talked about with the agreements that we need to put together once the RFPs are in, that has to be structured, and a lot of other stuff has to take place as administration that go beyond probably us as a board. As individually, time-wise, does that make it, is it possible? So I guess I'm reaching out to everybody that we need to configure some kind of a plan going forward to be able to take care of that without, sometimes first thought is going to city staff, but how much do you overburden an already burdened system?
Very well put.
So,
Chairman, if I may, how did, when Mr. Sund was the executive director, did TURA stipend his duties or his administrative allocation to the city of Trinidad from TURA, or did the city of Trinidad have the city manager just assume that duty?
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it went. It's been an inherited position since the onset, since the organization of TURA. That's pretty much been an inherited position. All of the work was done. The bulk of, and all the work was originally done by Tara Marshall. She's the one that went through all the motions, and she was the success about putting TURA on the map for the city of Trinidad. So that took place. When she left when she was with the city, but she gave up those duties as our director, and Jonathan Taylor, who was in charge of economic development at that time, was then handed that job, and I don't know, you know, if it's a dubious position or not, but that's how it landed up. It went from TURA Marshall to Jonathan Taylor. When Jonathan Taylor left the employment of the city and left Trinidad, then Greg said at that point, you know, and it was pretty much in all of our agreement, we don't have that much going on, and he was able to weave that into what he was doing. But as time goes on, I mean, you know, those schedules on a daily basis, there's a lot of stuff to be handled, and so therefore, you know, again, you know, no, I guess I'm making a long answer out of it, Commissioner Lopez. No, we never have paid for a stipend or any cost related to executive duties for TURA. So that may have to be a future consideration, you know.
So if I may recommend that possibly as chairman or a couple of board members approach the city council to see how they want to move forward in either funding this or if we need to fund it on our own, because I agree with you, we need to get somebody in this position to assist. And thank you, Mr. Rego, for all the hard work you've done since you've been kind of left at the helm without any type of stipend or any funding available to you for keeping TURA moving forward. However, I think at the time that this needs to really be addressed with City Council and with our TURA board of how we move forward doing that. Understand that Ms. Marshall was the original person running that, and who has taken her place, if it's moving forward with the economic development with Mr. Wallace, or with City Manager Mr. Valentine, or how we want to move forward in getting this accomplished. But I don't think the Urban Renewal Board is working at 100% capacity without having an executive director, because there's a lot happening right now in our community, and I'd like to see or get input from the rest of the board members how we move forward on funding this position, instead of just relying upon the city to inherit that expense, or would they want to take on that expense? So I think it needs to be explored.
Well, Commissioner Lopez, I'm sorry, but I think it's going to be up to us to determine how we do that and how we pay for it. Up until now, it's been a complimentary thing for us. The city did provide, like TURA Marshall, then Jonathan, and then Greg Sund, previous city manager. So it was just sort of like an inherited thing. It wasn't. But at this point, my thought is to be able to arrange with the city, if that's possible, and you know how to do it, and you know, I don't know how many hours a month we need and what that would be worth per hour, but that would be something that we would need to, one, get somebody trained so that all the fundamentals of urban renewal and what needs to go on, you know, can be handled, you know, in a way that wouldn't be foreign to them. And again, we would need to be doing some reimbursement out of our own funds. That's how other urban renewals do it. They pay for their own executive director. They're pretty well, you know, urban renewals are in the end self-sufficient, although in your formative years, you know, with little bits of TIF money coming in, not possible. But as we're going forward, we are accumulating TIF money, and there are funds available within what we're getting annually to be able to fund some part of a position.
Commissioner Bolton here.
Yes.
If I may add, once we get further into, or once La Puerta gets further along, that's going to increase our duties as far as tracking what's coming in, what needs to go out, who needs to be paid, and we need a certain knowledgeable person to be in charge of that.
Well, like I said, I brought that forward for thought, and you know, I'm thinking that everybody concurs that we need to do that, because you know, like Commissioner Lopez said, you know, we're not at full capacity of what we could be doing, and looking at projects that can be done for the betterment of Trinidad, which is what we're supposed to be doing. And so, you know, sometimes that needs somebody with a little bit more time to devote to it than we can possibly do. So sometime, Mike, you and I can have a discussion, see what you think, what might be possible out there. You know, you've got a broader base of information and knowledge on that kind of stuff. You know, maybe you can offer me a little suggestion that I can bring back to the board.
I can do that. As I listen, I know that the board was formed, the city helped out. I think we put forth your initial gave you a little fund balance. The intent was that Urban Renewal is a board standalone and has their own executive director. So, but I can see where
we keep losing. We are losing you, Mike.
Quite there yet. But work is there still. I've got some ideas. Not sure that I'm ready to share them with the group. Just
yeah, we'll get together and see if we can throw something around, and then I will communicate individually with commissioners to get and gather any ideas, because it's, you know, while it's not
I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not an immediate problem. It's a situation that exists, or an issue that exists, that we do need to address. We're basically, yeah, you intermittently are breaking out. No, well, but thank you. Okay, anybody else have anything? Commissioner Lopez, you said you wanted to bring up something when we got to items for future work session discussion.
It was exactly that, Chairman, was the discussion of funding or requesting an executive director. Again, thanking you for your valiant effort and your hard work in overseeing the administration duties of without an executive director, along with Mr. Valentine, and now with Mr. Wallace wanting to assist as well. So thank you all for that. But I just something I wanted to add for possible future discussion of looking into. So I believe with the conversation that's happened with Mr. Valentine, the two of you, the chairman and Mr. Valentine, can look forward into bringing forth some discussion to the board regards of searching or requesting applicants for executive director, and also I wanted to address the vacancies. I'm sorry that I believe we still have one vacant seat available on the board, and that has been addressed as well.
That's been advertised, Commissioner Lopez. That's been, those go out with the advertisements that they do for all the boards and commissions for the city, and I think several of the boards and commissions are running at reduced membership. Are they not? I don't think all the boards and commissions are running at full membership at this point. I think a couple of them are lacking, and so yeah, it goes out with I don't know. I'm not sure how often it gets sent out, but yeah, it's been out there that in fact, I've even heard radio advertisements on it that the city is entertaining persons of interest for the various boards and commissions. Sorry. But to make that short, yeah, that's an ongoing thing, trying to fill the empty positions.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. One last thing that I'm going to bring up is that I'm going to, as member, City of Trinidad and TURA are members of Downtown Colorado Incorporated, and they do have training modules available that can be done online, and I will see to it that like Commissioner Leone, I think Commissioner Lopez, who else has not been able to go through the 101 training for urban renewal? Commissioner Leone?
No, I have.
Okay, I'll get you, I'll have them send you that link and you'll be given, I think your email, your login will be your, email, they'll give you a password. And you'll be able to go into the resources and be able to do some, training on tax increment, finance, and the various things.
Okay, that would work.
Okay, I think Commissioner Lopez as well, I don't think he's had that opportunity, so, for those that haven't, I'll get it to everybody, cause if you wanna do a refresher on it, it'll be available, but I'll have it sent to everybody.
Thank you.
Alright,
Yes, thank you.
okay, moving forward, I think we're going to conclude the, work session, and we're going to go into regular session. It is 6:32 p.m. This is Thursday, August the 13th, 2020. This is the regular meeting of the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority. Item number 1 is roll call.
Barak,
Here.
Bolton,
Here,
Leone,
Here,
Lopez,
Here.
Villani,
Here,
Grego.
Here. Item number 2 is the approval of minutes from the last meeting that we conducted July the 9th, 2020. Everybody was sent and
Commissioner,
repeat it.
Commissioner Bolton, I would make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Commissioner Bolton to approve, is there a second?
Commissioner Leone will second that.
Second by Commissioner Leone. Are there any questions, changes, additions? Roll call.
Barak,
Brack.
Abstain because I was not able to get into the meeting.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes,
Lopez, Villani,
Lonnie?
yeah,
Grego.
Yes. Items number 3, acceptance of the financial report. Everybody was provided that in advance. Give you a little bit of detail on it as well. What you see there is actually the cumulative of 2 current accounts that we have. If you'll recall that last month we did authorize that a second account was going to be established for the projects. And that is what, we have a second account. So the cumulative total of those 2 accounts at this particular time is $243,141, which is what you'll be voting on. I was told that for September, the finance director for the city will have both accounts reconciled separately. So when you have a financial report next month, it will be reflective of 2 separate accounts.
Thank you, that answered my question.
yes, great.
Commissioner Bolton, with that information, I would make a motion to approve as presented.
Commissioner Bolton makes a motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner Galani, second, yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? And just as an FYI, on those accounts, the authorized signatories on that account are myself as chairman, Vice Chairman Carol Bolton, and Cheryl Navarrete, the city finance manager. Roll call.
Barak,
Brack.
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes,
Lopez,
Lopez.
Yes.
Villani,
Yeah,
Grego.
Yes. Item number 4, consideration of bills. We have one that has been presented for $150. It is to the law firm of Murray, Dahl, Berry, and Renewal LLP. That $150 is for Malcolm Murray's review of the RFP document that was sent out, which he indicated to us was acceptable and thought that it was more than adequate to go forward with the RFP that we have. So, motion to approve. Motion?
Commissioner Bolton, I will second.
Who made the motion?
This is police focus.
Okay. For a second there, I didn't think anybody wanted to pay Malcolm Murray.
I hit, because all the motions that didn't want to be a hog.
Well, there's a motion by Commissioner Lopez and a second by Commissioner Bolt. Any further questions or comments? Roll call.
Rack,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Villani,
Yes.
Grego.
Yes. Item number 5, petitions or communications, oral or written. No, nothing in here that's written. Is there anybody out in the audience beyond the commissioners that are in attendance this evening? Item number 6, old business. Item none of record. Item number 7, new business. None of record. Item number 8, report by executive director. Not this month, but hopefully sometime in the near future, that could be something that is taken care of. Item number 9, reports by commissioners. Any commissioners have anything that they would like to report on or inform us on? Somebody did something, didn't they? Okay.
I'm sure you'll have one from Fran and I for next month.
Yes. Maybe maybe sooner. Again, I want to thank everybody for being patient with sometimes some of my failures not to be able to get things way out in the time and as expediently and as fully as they should, but I'll try my best. Item number 7.
Appreciate all you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Item number 10. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
I'll second that.
Leone.
Yes.
Any questions, comments? If there are no dissenting votes, we will call this meeting adjourned at 6:39 p.m. Good night, everybody.